The smart grid and the government relations process behind it are very much a win-win from a policy standpoint. We provide a real service in creating efficiency, increasing reliability, all goals that government has for its utility and critical infrastructure system. So there is generally a warm reception to what we are trying to communicate to policymakers. The biggest stumbling block to deployment of the smart grid system from a government standpoint is the lack of concentration of decision making within governments. A lot of different players have ownership of the smart grid. You have FERC at the national level. You have some DHS involvement. You have a strong presence by state regulators. You also have a diverse ownership group, folks like co-ops who are not part of the regulatory system in most states. So the lack of concentration creates a lot of moving parts. Everyone expects an increase in carbon regulation over the next few years. The policy goals are rather common. Disagreements tend to come on who is willing to make the decisions on cost. Generally, we're giving government representatives new information regarding how it is our technology and the smart grid in general needs to be deployed. The primary message is that if you really want to move the grid to the next level, achieve efficiency gains, which translate to lower emissions, if you want to bring on additional renewable resources, if you want to bring on additional distributed generation, if you want to bring on smart metering, you need to have an integrated communications network so you can communicate from the generation source all the way to the retail customer. Advanced communications will be very critical to oil and gas remaining competitive. Arcadian will help oil and gas production because they can reach places that right now are difficult to reach or expensive to do by landlines. And finally, they will allow you to identify problems in either your drilling equipment, production equipment, and also allow you to manage your reservoir more efficiently. The challenge is to understand that we have to have an integrated approach to developing our energy infrastructure. You cannot put on more diverse power sources without communications. You cannot develop rate structures. You cannot drive higher renewable portfolio standards unless you can communicate who's on the grid at any given moment. If I were an energy company, I think the one thing I'd be communicating to my policymakers, being an elected official, a regulator, or anyone else in the policy space, would be the importance of allowing everyone to have access to real-time information. That technology has the ability to communicate critical information, and the quicker you can act on that critical information, the more reliable and more efficient you can deliver energy to the United States and the American people. So if I were to recommend a single message, it would be that we need to have a very robust communication architecture and a footprint in all corners of the United States.